Well, hello, Andrew here again, and this is episode 107. Today we're continuing in the Sermon on the Mount. We're up to Matthew chapter 7, verses 13 and 14. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. Now, I don't know how it is for you, but I would be interested to know your immediate response to this passage. Does it fill you with a measure of joy and of confidence and think, yes, that's me, I'm one of the few? Or does it fill you with a sense of underlying fear and inadequacy that you might be one of the many found in the large group that are on the way to destruction? Did we expect this from Jesus? We're used to this, aren't we? We've read this passage, we've heard it, this verse again, these two verses again and again and again. We know they're there, we know that they're the words of Jesus. And so we automatically imagine, I think, that we're supposed to feel really anxious and scared. It evokes within us a fear-based response. Am I good enough? Does my life measure up? Am I okay? Will I be found in this small group who have squeezed through the narrow gate? Yet I wonder if that's what it's actually about. It's a sense that we can get that out of it, and it's our default, it's what we do. Yet the context in the verses that we've been reading leading right up to this is about the goodness of God. Remember this ask, seek and knock, and how much more generous God is than we are, and how much desiring God is for our highest and best than we are for those of our children. And yesterday we considered the golden rule, that there's this invitation to pay it forward, to live with a measure of generosity and a positive milieu, a positive aspect towards others, a desire to bless and to enrich the lives of others. And that as we do that, we might expect some reciprocation. And then we read this, enter through the narrow gate. For wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. So why do we read it so negatively? Well, I think it's because we're hardwired to the negative. We're hardwired to see the worst in things. It's generally how most of us actually live. Instead of seeing the possibility that Jesus might be inviting us into a different path. It might be that Jesus is simply suggesting that so many of us actually just waste our lives. We spend it on things that are, and that's the word, we spend it. We spend it. We spend it on things that are worthless, that don't in the end amount to anything, that are kind of just filling in the time and maybe giving us a few jollies along the way that we think, oh well, that was fun. And yet there's an invitation here to look for that which is more worthwhile, that which is meaningful. I think Jesus puts it in these terms because he doesn't want us to waste our lives. He wants us, as I've said so many times, to know life that is full and rich. That's why he came, that we might experience life in its fullness. And part of it actually is something that we have to do, is something that we have to choose. And it is so easy to miss it. It was Socrates who said that an unexamined life is not worth living. And I think there's a sense that Jesus is inviting us to participate in that project, to live with an element of circumspection, to reflect on how we spend our times. Is it worth it? The things that we're doing, the things that we're committing ourselves to, in the long term, in an eternal perspective, are they worthwhile? Are they life-giving to others and to ourselves? Are they going to make a difference? In any way, a positive difference. John Ortberg is a very good author and a thinker. He puts it like this. He describes our tendency to exist in this place of emptiness, this place of filling in the time. He puts it like this. He describes it as our shadow mission. My shadow mission is what I will do with my life if I drift on autopilot. It consists of activities towards which I will gravitate if I allow my natural temptations and selfishness to take over. Do you want to hear it again? Here it comes. My shadow mission is what I will do with my life if I drift on autopilot. It consists of activities towards which I will gravitate if I allow my natural temptations and selfishness to take over. Whew. And so we end up majoring on the minus. And it's so often because it's easier. It takes less mental energy. It takes less effort. I mean, I know it's true for me. I'm addicted to the news, to American politics, and it bothers me. And I'm quietly trying to create a little bit of separation. Part of it is because, for me, there's a kind of fascination. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. As a story unfolds, and you think, what is going to be the next little twist or turn? But in the end, it's a bit like one of those soap operas, like remember the Young and the Restless, or Days of Our Lives. That was one that I used to watch, Days of Our Lives. I don't know if it's still going. But it's one of those things that you could watch and not watch for a month or 6 weeks and come back, and within 15 minutes you caught up on all you needed to in the time that you hadn't been spent watching it. You know what I mean? And I wonder if Jesus is inviting us into more, to be a little bit more circumspect. All of us, I imagine, we have vices. We all have things that we go to when we want just to blob. And there's nothing wrong with blobbing. But if our life consists of blobbing, we've got a serious problem on our hands. That was just whittles away life. We all need time for rest. In fact, we all need time for doing nothing. Yes, we do. The Dutch even have a term for it. I've forgotten what it is, but they stress the importance of spending time doing nothing. But we don't want to spend our whole lives doing nothing. And the invitation for Jesus is to walk the narrow path, to enter through the narrow door, to be intentional, to look at where we've come from and where we're going. We can't change what's happened, but we can in fact affect the path, affect the future. We can make a difference to how we're going to proceed from here. Whether each day is going to have a measure of profitability and worthwhileness to it. And it may be that we need to start by investing ourselves in the future. There may be some new skills we need to learn. There may be some new knowledge we need to acquire. There may be some new habits that need to be formed in order for us to benefit most fully. In the end, we get to make the choice. We get to make the choice. Is it the mission that we could be living, or is it simply the shadow mission, which just hoovers up the time and allows life to pass by, so we come to the end of it and look back and think, oh, not quite what I expected. What was that all about? Anyway, we all have a choice. And I think Jesus is inviting us to live a more focused and potentially more disciplined life. A life worth living. God bless you.